Hey everyone, welcome to Be Our Guest, our weekly virtual happy hour with industry professionals. I'm Dev Janki, the artistic director of Live and in Color. We are a not-for-profit theater company based both in New York and Connecticut. We develop new plays and musicals that promote and celebrate diversity. For more information, be sure to check out our website, theaterincolor.org. Now it's time to grab a drink and start leaving your questions for our very special guest in the comments. You know her from Broadway shows such as Miss Saigon, Flower Drum Song, Sweet Charity, A Chorus Line, Wonderful Town, The Wedding Singer, Priscilla Queen of the Desert, and Annie. Please join me in welcoming the amazing, the talented, the beautiful, the hilarious J Elaine Marcos! I can't hear you, Jelaine.
I am here. I am here. Mic on, please. Thank you. Mic on. Hello.
My love.
Oh, yes. Cheers.
Oh, cheers. Where are you calling in from?
I am in Los Angeles.
Have you been there?
I've been here, since March. I flew back on March 13th. I was in New York at that time, and then I flew back, and now I've been here the whole time. Yeah.
So good to see you. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited.
So we first met in the Broadway company of Miss Saigon, which was your Broadway debut, correct?
Yes. That was the show that got me, made me realize, oh, this could be something that I could do because there's a whole bunch of Filipinos on stage.
Exactly.
And so thankfully, that was my Broadway debut. And I met you.
And that's where we met, and myself and our buddy Robert Tatad took you under our wing and treated you as only we would a little sister.
Little sister.
Love, affection. We never bugged you ever.
Yeah, I like how we have this thing going on where, if you like somebody, usually say, I care for you, I like you. They just text me the word affection. It's just is affection. I always think it's so old school. It's so old school. You just do your job and you just be nice. And
well, we immediately fell in love with you and knew we could have a lot of fun with you. And years later, we still are.
That's why I'm kind of afraid I said yes to this.
Oh, just wait.
I know.
So we are very similar in that we both grew up in Canada and started out as dancers. When did you decide to transition from being a dancer to pursue a career in theater?
Well, there she is. I just want to, right? I always want to humble. Look at this. Look at the feet. Look at the feet, people.
Oh, good. What was that costume?
It was a ballet that we did, Degas, I don't know. Degas.
Yes.
But look at the feet. The feet, they were in their prime and just no arches. Yeah, I started off as a dancer first, and I just loved jazz, though. Took ballet because we're supposed to. Thankfully, I did. But
everyone out there, take ballet.
Ballet. And if anything, it's even singers, actors, take ballet because you're just connected to your body. Even, when people who are football players and they take ballet, you're just aware of your body. You're just aware of it. But yeah, that's where I started. And then cut to just wanting to, that's right. I also love comedy. I just remember, I grew up watching Second City TV in Canada. That's our SNL, but it's the same people, John Candy, Martin Short,
Andrea Martin. Era.
Yeah. How could you not see these people? And I just always love them. So I kind of created this thing in my head where I love to dance. I love that, but I also love the comedy aspect. How can I put them together? And that's where musical theater kind of fits in.
Yeah. Well, and you moved to New York and took the city by storm.
Well, I guess you could say I did go to school. I trained a little bit. Trained a little bit. And that's another thing we have in common. We both went to the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. That's what kind of brought us out of
Yeah,
our.
and what was great about AMDA was they were one of the few schools that was open to international students at the time. So as Canadians, it was really a wonderful opportunity for us. I always say AMDA was the place that sort of broke my fall for New York and really taught me the ins and outs of the city.
Yeah, because already New York is like intimidating, but if you're already studying in that field, it's kind of like if you were studying while tomatoes are being thrown at you, then you'll be good when tomatoes aren't being thrown at you. Like it's just so intense. So
Yeah.
I think studying in New York or wherever you want to eventually end up, it's a wonderful place to be able to learn like safely without
Yeah,
having to have so much
absolutely.
pressure. So yeah, AMDA taught me how New York works, and that's huge in just in confidence.
For those of you who don't know, AMDA is the American Musical and Dramatic Academy, and they're based both in New York and Los Angeles, and you should check them out. So you've had an incredible career, and you are very fortunate because we're debuting a little game with you on the show. You're our guinea pig.
Right.
So we're going to be playing a little game called Guess That Dress.
Oh. I'm sorry. Wait a second.
So here are the rules. We are going to zoom in on a picture of you in a show. Then you have 20 seconds to guess which show it's from. Make sense?
Yes.
You ready? Okay.
Yes.
So get ready to guess that dress.
Oh yes. Do I say it out loud?
Yes, yes.
It has to be Val.
Let's see what it is.
Yeah.
There you are in a chorus line.
Yeah.
This was your first gig out of college, as it was mine, right? Yeah.
Yes. Playing the role of Connie Wong.
Connie Wong, yeah. And since then, you've performed Connie Wong across the country on tour, on Broadway, at the Hollywood Bowl. It's sort of, you've been part of that whole legacy. And the last time you were in the show, you became the first Asian actress to ever to play Val at Encores.
Yes. So I could tell that lavender anywhere. Yes.
Exactly right. What was that experience like? I mean, we were all so excited when you got that role.
Oh my gosh. That actually, just the whole journey of that. And first of all, when I was asked to possibly go in for another role, I thought, there's no way anyone is going to, on that creative team, when I've known them for over 20 years, how are they possibly going to see me play any other role other than Connie? And they said, come in for Connie, but if you are interested in doing anything else. And thankfully, as you know, Ryan Duncan, he is an amazing comedian, hilarious, incredibly talented triple threat. And him and, Ryan Duncan. And I do silly and crazy, outrageous things at auditions. And at my audition, I not only sang Dance 10 Looks 3 as it originally is choreographed, I did a very crazy thing. And I had Ryan and my other friend, Louis Villebon, come in and crash my audition. And we did things that you should never do in an audition, but I ended up booking it. So let's just say everything's fine. But that's what I did.
Well, and you were brilliant as always in the show, and truly groundbreaking. Speaking of groundbreaking, Bjork Lee, you have worked with her so many times in a chorus line and beyond. She has become quite the mentor to you.
Absolutely.
What are some of the best lessons you've learned from her?
The first time I auditioned for her back right away when I graduated from AMDA, and she would just tell us about everything about a chorus line. And I realized that I am so lucky that people before me they were so devoted to the performing arts, that Bjork she was very clear in telling us that, when she auditioned for things, she knew that if there was another person of color in the room, it was they were going to look for one person of color that they're going to hire. So she would give us all this information. So you always felt you were very, very fortunate and lucky to be able to work at all. So my work ethic is such that you, be nice to everybody because you have to be grateful that you're able to pursue this and that you possibly can work. And I just think her work ethic is such that that's all she does is work.
Mm-hmm.
And she, even to this day, she texts me practically every day and letting me know all the things that she's doing. And I do the same thing with my students. I let them know this is what BIARC is doing. Please take her classes. Please just keep on studying, because that's what BIARC always says to us.
Yeah.
Keep on training. So it's, yeah, I am so grateful for everything that she's done. And she is the woman that, if and when they make a documentary of anything, I'm like, I have to play BIARC. Please let me.
She is an extraordinary woman and such a inspiration to so many of us in the business.
Yeah.
She's amazing. So let's do another close up. So here we go. Guess that dress.
Oh yes, the chicken costume.
Is it? There you are.
Oh my goodness.
Jillian, can you explain to our viewers what's going on behind this costume and this picture?
Okay, you know what? Immediately when I think of it, I think of like, you know how people did dance competitions or do dance competitions, and then their teacher says, I have a solo that I want you to compete in, and I want to do this solo. That's what you guys did, and said, we have this idea for the Easter bonnet. Yeah, the Easter bonnet competition that Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. Every Broadway show does a number, and it's just, it really can be anything. The theme is Easter bonnet, and they're often parodies or any creative thing. And that's all I know is that Robert, you know, it was quite a creative team. You had Robert, and it would Matt Sklar. Anyone hear of the prom?
Yes, Matt Sklar.
You know, arrangements. And they had one woman who was the chicken, and that was me. I got it. And then 3 guys who were singing up in the back. And it was just a silly chicken number of I was being hatched, and I was a showgirl chicken.
Being hatched. You were hatching an egg.
Oh, that's right. I forget what my journey as an actor was.
Well, can we pull up the picture quickly again? So this is actually the moment that you have hatched something, and this is actually what you hatched.
Oh, it's still alive.
It's still alive.
Oh my!
I still have it.
You know what I just realized? It's so Priscilla Queen of the Desert. It is so like I was manifesting a role later on in my years that I would be yet again hatching.
Well, you know what? Let's see one more picture.
There she is, Cynthia, Priscilla Queen of the Desert. Oh, I know that.
There she is. How fun was this show for you?
Oh, it was, you know, you train so hard to work on your vocals, on your dance training and everything. And next thing you know, you're just singing, dare I say singing, pop music, radio, video, boogie with a suitcase. You're living in a disco. That is what I remember being in the recording studio and like just going, this is amazing. Radio, video, boogie with it's kind of crazy, but that's where I kind of think there's always a place for everybody. I just based that character off of, like I said, I'm Filipino, and I just based this character off of my mom. And she is just, the description of her was this feisty Filipino who loves to have her own act.
Yes.
There we go. Done.
And speaking of the act, you had a very special talent in the show, which was...
Yeah, I hatched ping pong balls out into the audience. And, you know, when my mom saw that, because we opened in Toronto, at the outer town, and was in Toronto, and my mom was so proud. So proud. And the same thing when I was in Miss Saigon, just in a bikini, you know, and there's my daughter. You know, it's work is work. It doesn't have to define you, but those were the roles that I played. And I actually just had so much fun with Cynthia. because also I didn't realize how many people knew the movie. So
Uh-huh.
the first day that I was in front of an audience, and one of my first line is refreshments, and I come in with refreshments. Apparently, that's a well-known line, and they know, oh, here comes that woman. So as a performer, when you hear the giggles and the laughter, and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm on. So I would just say refreshments, and people would be like, ah, there she comes.
Well, it is one of those parts that people like within a show that's already hilarious, and you've got some incredible actors to sort of steal the show is a huge feat. And it was one of the most thrilling things for me to see you in that role.
My career just went like this. Here she goes. Oh, okay. Yep, there she is. Just
no, it was amazing.
Oh my goodness.
So let's do one final picture. So guess that dress. What do you think that is?
Oh my goodness. I almost feel like, I've got too many shows. Flower Drum Song is the only thing I can think of because I see red, but I can't.
Let's see what it is.
Oh!
It's when you received the legacy robe while working on getting the band back together.
There we go. Oh, there she is. That was a moment that only us, it's...
Well, okay, for people who don't know what it is, can you give a brief explanation of what the legacy robe is and tell us what the experience meant to you?
I think if you've ever, all I thought of when I was, I think about it, I was like, I've been doing this for so long. Someone recognized that I've been doing it for this long. That's all it really meant. It was like, oh, I got recognized for, you've been doing this for so, you stayed in it. And that's what it kind of meant to me is I didn't give up. I kept on going. And so like, I remember that day I was like bawling because I didn't expect it. And this is also embarrassing to say, but I had, let me explain that you get the legacy robe because you've been an ensemble member. You've done a lot of ensemble roles on Broadway, and you're the person in the cast who had the most ensemble roles. Now, when I eventually did Annie and I played Lily St. Regis, that was a huge moment for me because I wasn't in the chorus anymore. I was a lead. And so I thought, I made it. I climbed out of the chorus, if you will. When I went back into getting the band back together, I'll be honest, I wasn't the lead, but I was grateful for where I was at, but a part of me was a little embarrassed. People said, oh, that's great, you're going into a new show. But in my mind, I thought I was backtracking. But then I realized that as a performer, what we do is we're lucky to perform when we get to perform. And so when I got that robe, I realized it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether or not you're front or back. I stayed in it. And so that's what that moment meant for me was I'm the one who said, going back or forth. No, being on Broadway is being on Broadway. And that's huge. And that's already a wonderful thing. So I'm not going to judge whether or not I'm in the front or back. I am just going to do the best I can. So that's what that meant to me. It just meant I stayed in it.
Well, and you have, and staying in it means auditioning and auditioning and auditioning and auditioning, and you have become a master auditioner and a pro at making big choices in the room, as you did with your Val audition. And you also teach a lot. What advice do you give your students when talking about auditions and making big choices in the room?
The thing is, from getting a lot of no's, tons of no's, absolutely, I started to realize that I was almost frustrated with it, and I didn't give myself permission to play in the room. And it wasn't until I started being on the other side of the table, and it wasn't until I was helping Bjork cast something. And when you're behind that table and watching, wow, you get to see things where the things that I was worried about, we don't look for that on our side. We want people to have fun. And if you mess up, you mess up. But we want to know, are you going to get back in? So I realized it was an opportunity to play. That's when I started taking a lot of risks. And when I teach, I let people know that in my classes, we are going to explore what you can bring into the audition room. And I'm never going to say one thing's right or wrong. I actually have a hard time with rules now. I understand that we need to follow them in a way, but how can we push the boundaries? And so that's what I do. And I give people, in a sense, permission in class to play. And then how can we still find that in your audition piece without it feeling so stuck? You know, when people come in, or kind of like when you see stand-ups, I equate auditioning to stand-up. If you can come in right away and go, I'm unapologetically me, and this is what I'm going to do, I want to watch. But if there is a thing, if I come in and I see you, I'm like, oh, what does Dev want? Let me just focus on Dev. What am I focusing? Instead of focusing on me going, this is my party. I'm going to wear this hat and here I go. I'm just going to play you my little song and then, and thank you very much. Thanks for seeing me. Bye. You know, it's kind of that feeling.
Yeah, no, it's so smart, and no one likes auditioning on either side of the table. So
Yeah.
the fact that you can reframe it that way is so wonderful. And in my teaching as well, I always say that it's your audition, have fun.
And it's hard. Actually, I kind of break down that thing of just have fun, and I always go, how do I have fun?
Yeah.
This is so hard. So I kind of just break it down, and a lot of it is mindset and putting yourself in that situation a lot. But I kind of break down how do you have fun? How? Mm-hmm. So you actually have to break down what fun is for you, specifically you, because if that means playing a guitar, go ahead, bring a guitar, even though they didn't say. But you know what I mean? Who knows? I just think it's, as long as it's you. So that's kind of what I talk about.
Yeah.
That. Mm-hmm.
I love that you equate it with stand-up comedy, because that's a great analogy. And you do a lot of stand-up comedy and write a lot of new work, such as your Motivational Mondays with V. There you are. How many episodes are there now?
You know what? I looked and I was like, I think I have almost 100 or so, because it started out just because it's based off of a character like my mom. She's again unapologetically Filipino, and and to be honest, I also do. I'm one of those people who love motivational quotes. I'm not going to say that out loud, but I do. You don't think I need to hear that day by day of like, you are enough. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. But then I just put it into a character where she just says inappropriate words, but she doesn't realize it, and she's linguistically challenged.
When did you start writing comedy?
When I moved out here that's how I created my audition pieces all the time, was making them sketches, just like SNL or Second City TV. I would create my audition pieces when I would get sides from Telsey Casting, and they'd give you the whole packet. And you're like, well, how do I? And the only thing is that a lot of times I would go in for character type roles, and I would create a piece around this audition. And so before I went in, I would have all these props. I kind of have this idea. I'm exactly what you would totally tell someone never to do. And I do it. It's, I just always saw things as sketches. So that's what I would do. I would create a piece. And so I would often just have so much fun in the room. And I remember one time after doing my Priscilla Queen of the Desert audition, I remember Telsey, him after saying like, well, that looks like it was part of a cabaret piece. And I was like, oh, I should put this in a cabaret. And so that's where it kind of all started. And that's when I put my show together of what I did for a job, which is just all my audition pieces that I did for auditions, where I brought in the rubber chicken, I brought in the Annie wig. You shouldn't really have any of these things coming in, excuse me. But when they do come in, you just acknowledge them, and then you just got to leave the room, and then it's please. And so it's one of those things where I just commit to the material, and I still have to check the boxes. Am I singing? Am I acting? Am I able to get their attention? Okay, and then I leave. And so there is a whirlwind of what just happened? Did she just come into the room and then I just go, okay, well, that was me. And if you want that, it's available. But if not,
you know what I love about you, J Elaine? You are always authentically yourself, and that's hard for people to do. You really are just always exactly the hilarious, wonderful, talented person that I've known since that first day you walked into the Broadway theater. I want to talk a little bit about Live and in Color and our mission, which is we provide opportunities for artists from diverse communities and backgrounds to create new stage works. For you, what does having a diverse working environment mean?
Well, it's like acceptance and not having to be embarrassed. I guess that's my own thing of being different. It's whenever I would be in a cast, and I would often be, the token Asian girl, and I always felt like I stood out for that reason and not because of my talent, as opposed to being, for example, in shows, I often would be like, oh, where there's the Asian girl. I prefer to be referred to as, oh, there was that funny girl who did the thing. There was the one who sang the thing, so that it's identified with what I can do and not my type. So that when you have a diverse cast, you kind of recognize people for their talent, as opposed to, oh, that was this girl just with the box. And so I feel like being able to also tell a story from my point of view as a human being, and not just because I am the one Asian person in the cast. And also, often the roles that I have been seen for, yes, they're comedic, but they never have an arc. They have, and I'll say I'm very comfortable with coming in, doing the funny bit, but she often wouldn't have an arc of any type. And I thought, I really wish I'd be able to have a journey for her. And I know that sounds like as an actor, but with diverse works, I think that everyone can have then a story, an arc, as opposed to just that one funny thing for being a moment, and they don't really move the story forward. So I'd love to be part of the story as opposed to just that moment.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I think we were talking about before the show, just, we being with Miss Saigon and being one of the first shows with an entirely primarily Asian cast. And then again with you with Flower Drum Song, just at the time, what that meant and how, just for us as a community, how important that was. I mean, we're still so close because we knew what a rare thing it was.
Yeah, it really, it's almost hard to describe, but when I would walk in backstage for Miss Saigon and Flower Drum Song, it really just felt like home. And there was a guard that I kind of took off, that I just felt like it's just us. And I'm not saying anyone judges me really in the other casts, but there was a unique thing that goes on in our head of, oh, we are enough. We're individual, as opposed to just being one. Like, to have a whole cast of Asian people, but we are different characters. Like, a lot of times I would be up against, if you say, the same people whenever I'm auditioning. And I'd be up against my really good friend Yuka. And she could not be more different than me. But we go, in the business, that's what they see us at. But it doesn't mean that we are the same. So it really is, it just reminds me that, yes, we might be the same type on the outside, but she's completely fantastic in her own way. And then I'm just this Cara Bonnet thing, and she's this amazing Japanese pop star. Couldn't be more different.
I know I will always hold those memories of those shows very close to my heart. So I'm so happy that you are part of that legacy. Let's take some questions from our viewers. Let's see. Oh, Emma says, do you miss ballet? Do you find time for it when you do miss it?
Oh, Emma, my feet hurt when I am pointing. Like, I am teaching online, and I mainly with the classes that I do teach are more theater style, and I revisit choreography that I have done in my other shows, and so I pass it along to students. And so we do warm up in terms of tendus and here and there a little bit, but I there are moments about ballet that I cannot. It's hard. Ballet is hard, but it is. I miss the fact that I have to warm up like 3 times as much just to warm up my legs or feet. But that's what I miss about ballet is not being able to warm up as quickly, because as you get seasoned, you get older. It does take a moment, but if there's anything that I do miss about ballet is being in that studio, it being in a dance studio. And yeah, just having that again. But thank you, Emma, for asking. Let's stay in ballet.
One more. Robert says, what was your favorite memory from Annie?
Oh my goodness. So Jane Lynch came in the show. When I found that out, I was like, I love Katie Finneran. First of all, like that was another one of mine. I get to play with Katie Finneran. Loved her. And so it was so fun to play with her. And then when I found out that Katie was leaving, I was like, oh, okay. And then Jane Lynch coming in, yet another one who knows improv and loves to play. When we had rehearsal the first day, I could hear she was on stage and I'm in the wings. I was like, okay, this is rehearsal. We're going to be rehearsing Easy Street. So I would just walk out. Hey, Jane, nice to meet you. And it was so amazing to see someone who had just finished getting awards at Glee. And there she was on our Broadway stage going, okay, haven't been on a stage in a while. There we go. And I loved how she was so honest and like, I don't know about this tap stuff, but I'm going to do the best I can. And so I love that type of energy. So I was I was just in awe.
Well, she is another extraordinary talent. She was thrilling in the show as well, as was Katie. So
yeah.
Let's take one more question. Do we have one more?
I have questions for you. No.
You do?
I know. Well, for the audience.
I guess no more questions. We're out of time. They're telling me it goes fast, right?
I know.
It's crazy. We could talk all night.
I know.
But before we go, I want to say how proud I am of Live in Color and the work we do to foster diverse and inclusive environments. The stories we tell change hearts and minds. If you can, please consider making a donation to theaterincolor.org to support our work and our artists. Also, be sure to tune in to be our guest next week when I talk to members of Black Theater United. Pathia Jenkins from shows such as Newsies and Carolina Change, as well as Broadway stage manager Lisa Don Cave from such shows as Fun Home and Frozen. It promises to be a great conversation. Thank you to everyone who tuned in today. Thank you, my dear friend J Elaine, for joining me. Will you lead us in a little toast before we say goodbye?
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Toast to the best Wednesday ever. Because really all we have is this moment, and it's really just having everyone find, how dare you not tell me I was going to give a toast. Find what they love about musical theater and do that one thing today to progressing towards that dream that you love, whether it is finding out classes, taking a dance class, listening to a podcast. Just keep on moving forward, because it's not about what has happened in the past. It's about how can I keep on moving forward. So let's cheers to keep on moving forward.
Moving forward. Thank you. I love you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you next week.